we have a massive amount of debt. So
Massive
how do
amount.
we, how do we then go to reconciling this?
Yeah. So one thing is that you'll hear people, well, you have to slash taxes or you have to cut
Services or
spending, right?
yeah, right,
Services, right? And
spending.
so uh, a big part of my policy is actually to massively grow the GDP of the country. Because
Mm,
if we massively grow the GDP of the country, the taxes that we're collecting right now would be a lot more, like this percent, because you're taking from a bigger pie, right? So I want to
sure.
grow the pie for all Americans, and I want to do that by getting us to complete energy independence. I want to abolish the Nuclear Regulatory Association, and I want to allow the market to start really pushing down the price of energy. Imagine if we could reduce energy by 50%. That because everything in the economy is touched by energy. Everything you buy on Amazon has to get transported to you. It has to have energy to make it. So the cost of energy is embedded in everything. And if we reduce that by 50%, and America was completely energy independent and had lots of energy to spare, we would start bringing in new jobs and new factories because they all require energy to use, right? And if the energy was you don't realize, but a lot of business costs is energy. That
Mhm.
in a lot of business costs of energy, especially in high tech, right? And so if we reduce that a lot, we would bring companies from other countries to America to start doing business because we would have really good energy. And also, a big piece of my platform is abolishing the IRS. I've been audited many times as a businessman, and it just soaks productivity of the American people. And we can replace the income tax with a consumption tax that makes it super easy to comply, super easy to and transparent, so everybody knows what everybody's paying, and it ends all those loopholes that everybody complains about, right? Like the system isn't fair. So this is unrigging the tax system,
Yeah.
and there's a bill. HR 25, the fair tax, which is before Congress, and it's been a bill before Congress already, which eliminates the IRS and replaces it with this consumption tax. And so that's another piece that I want to put in because I feel like the taxation is another thing that keeps companies from coming to America and investing more in America and being part of the system. So I really want to unleash the economy by putting forth these pieces of policy and getting regulation out of the system so that we can get productive again in America. I went from that outhouse and no electricity to running a company with 600 employees doing $350 million a year in sales, and I want every American to have the opportunity to find the success that I did. And the biggest barrier to success for small business is government. And so we need to vastly reduce government out of the way so that we can unleash the productivity of America and we can really grow America again, right? That I think that that's a good goal.
Yeah, they really do try to squash business in through regulations, through fines. If you fail to comply with filing a piece of paper, the next thing you know, you're hit with like a $2,000 fine, and you're like,
Right.
my
Yeah.
business doesn't even make that kind of money or whatever. And it's just
Yeah.
like a way to put people out of business.
Yep.
And it's that government. These are really interesting ideas. So income tax. So you're saying no income tax.
That's right. I'll get repeal the 16th Amendment and abolish the income tax. We didn't have it before 1913. The so it's not something that is like out of this world. And when they implemented the income tax, it was only supposed to be on the 1%, right? That's how
Yeah,
they
I'm
sold it.
curious, how did they get this? I mean, if in 1913 they started income tax, why wasn't there an enormous revolution at that
Oh,
point? Like,
because they literally said we're going to tax the rich,
and that's it.
and that's it. That's all we're going to do.
I
It's
wonder how
just
they
on the rich.
started. Did they start that way where they only tax it and they said, "Okay, here's
Yep.
income tax, but only for this group of people," and so most people still didn't have to
Only
do
on the
it?
millionaires, only on the
Okay.
1%,
So they
right? So that's
basically slowly kind of got people more like
yeah,
it was like a slide, like a right. They just slowly say, "Oh, now
yeah,
you have to pay some income tax. Now you do. Okay, now it's small. Don't worry, it's just tiny percentage, and then now it's
that's right.
like 30% of your income."
Exactly, and we live in California here. They just raised the income tax in California again this on January 1st. Now top tier is now 14%. Plus, there's a millionaire tax. If you make more than a million, you get taxed another percent. So now it's 15% in California, and they just keep raising it and raising it. In my
Mhm.
town, we have the highest sales tax anywhere in the country at almost 11%. okay, of sales tax, right? So it's just like the government is just growing and growing and growing, and it's oppressing the people and stealing more and more of their hard-earned money. I want Americans to keep 100% of their paycheck so that they can spend it on the things that are necessary for them to grow, right? Like, how can you ever save money and get ahead if you can't, if you have no money and you keep giving it to the government? I
Yeah.
guarantee, this is what I tell people. Look, do you believe that the government spends the money it takes from you wisely and efficiently? No
No.
one has ever said
Right.
yes. No one,
Right.
not one person has ever said yes. Even the lefty of the leftiest has said, yeah, I don't think that they do that. So then why would you want to give the government more money when they're not
Yeah.
spending it wisely and efficiently? Like, if you have a kid that's like racking up your credit card, do you give them a second credit card, or you tell them, no, you got to stop, you got to stop this stuff, right?
Right.
So we need to just, get that into the American government and make that be the case there too.
Okay, so no income tax. So you're saying just consumption tax, like sales tax,
Yeah.
consumption tax.
And then we can start whittling that down, right? Like, we can start cutting down the services, and we can start cutting down that, because my goal is the least amount of taxes possible. I want an efficient government that spends my money wisely and efficiently. I don't want my money being taken and sent off to, drop bombs on kids in faraway lands. I don't want my money to be spent on, foreign subsidies, whatever. I want my money. If you're going to take my money, I want it to benefit me and my community.
Yeah.
I don't, and for the federal government, all I really care about is high courts and military. Like, that's it. Like, the rest of the federal government, for the most part, can just go away, and the states can manage the things for their citizens. Like, that, we don't need the great overlord, right? It's like the federal government is like carpet bombing from 10,000 feet. The local government is like shooting you in the face, like, right? That's the way I say it, right? So I believe that local government has a better ability to understand the needs of its people
Yeah, for
than the
sure.
federal government does. So I want to reduce the federal government as much as possible. And that being said, I believe that the president has been handed too much power by the Congress because they don't want to do their job. So one of my goals would be to reduce the power of president
Mhm.
by getting rid of all the executive orders. And there's a thing called the Plum Book, which is 7,000 positions that the president is allowed to fill. And then there's many layers of people underneath that, so it might be 50,000 people that he's responsible for directly. And I would not fill a lot of those positions. And if they're super necessary, Congress can come in and actually make a cabinet for that and have
Mhm.
it be Congress, instead of the president just having authority to do whatever he wants to do. I don't want a king, right? I want a representative government. And we seem to be moving more and more towards this authoritarian king guy that just tells you how it's going to be, and tough crap if you don't like it, right?
Right.
And that causes that animosity that I was talking about, right? Like, if Biden says I'm king and tough crap, you don't like it, all the people who voted for Trump are pissed off. If Trump says tough crap, if you don't like it, all the Democrats are pissed off, right? And that's
Mhm.
leading to this division. And we got to stop using government to force our will onto other people. That's my belief.
So a lot of so libertarians kind of are a spectrum of people. There
Yep.
doesn't seem to be kind of a one size fits all. I mean, that's like how it is with Democrats and also Republicans, but I feel like it might be more so even with libertarians. Um, so what type of libertarian? So some libertarians just think absolutely no government at
Yep.
all on any level. They just don't want to see government. Sounds to me almost like you're saying, well, I don't want federal government really, but state government's okay.
I mean, the least amount of government is possible is what I'm going for. So I'm not an anarchist. I believe that we need to have the rule of law, that we have to, in order to have a civilized society, we have to have some accountability. But the bureaucracy has just grown and grown and grown, where it's just
Sure.
massively big. And I think the thing is about libertarian that I think a lot of people don't understand is you can be a left-leaning libertarian or you can be a right-leaning libertarian. What
Right.
libertarian is, the opposite of libertarian is authoritarian. So if you believe that the state is the best thing for your life, and that they know best how to run your life and they should control every aspect of your life, then you're not a libertarian. If you believe that you know how to run your life better than anybody else, and that you're, as long as you're not harming other people, you should be able to do what you want, then you're probably a libertarian, right? And you can be like believing that we should have more help, or we should we should have family values or whatever it is that you believe. You can be left or right, but really it comes down to whether you believe the state is better at managing your life or you're better at managing your life.